Hi, I'm Nathan, and today we're going to talk about the overhaul I did for my game Soul in patch 1.3. This update was huge, and while there were other elements in this update, it mostly entailed overhauling our entire item system, which is what we'll be focusing on today. So, what sort of changes were made? Well, the first was adding rarity and subcategories for each item. For the rarity of each item, we decided on a color coding system, due to it being easy to quickly interpret, along with the fact that most games kind of use this sort of system anyway. White was normal or common, orange was rare, red was legendary, and purple were relics. As far as item subcategories, wares were divided up into armor, cloaks, and power armor. Ranged weapons were divided into pistols, rifles, heavy weapons, bows, and utility. Melee weapons had long swords, short swords, knives, blunt weapons, nomadic weapons, and shields. Medical tools had healing and concentration tools. And lastly, consumables were divided up into medical, alcohol, grenades, ammo, robotics, and technology. Additionally, all item types had a subcategory called accessories, which accounted for any sort of outlier items. This may not sound all that interesting, and mostly like an organizational feature for helping sort and organize cards, which is true, but there is a great mechanical bonus that comes along with it. It's what's called connectivity through classification, which is a term I just made up. I'm sure there's some better term in actual game design, but I'm completely self-taught and too lazy to look it up. Plus, it would have ruined my whole bit about making it up. But what does connectivity through classification mean? Well, it means if an element of a game has a term to represent it, it can be referenced in other systems, allowing it to be integrated. Let me give an example to contextualize it. So now that we have rarities classified, we get an ability like Sabotage, which you place an item on the ground, and after one turn it explodes, creating a shockwave, dealing 10 damage all around it. The distance the shockwave travels is based on the item's rarity. Common is 6 spaces, rare is 8, and legendary 12. In this example, the rarity system has the terms common, rare, and legendary, which allow it to be integrated into the ability system. Another example using the item subcategories we came up with instead would be updating the explorer's dash and slash ability. As is, the ability empowers your movement to deal half the damage of your melee weapon to every enemy you pass by. While halving damage does help balance the ability, it does feel a little clunky to do every time. Also, if you're using a weapon like a claymore, which does really high damage, it could be too powerful regardless of being halved. So instead we can make this ability only work with knife-type weapons, making this ability balanced and interesting for any knife wielders. Now, we didn't actually use rarity or item subcategories in this way, but we totally could have, and I definitely plan on doing it in the next version of Soul. We did, however, come up with our dual-wielding system at this time, which used this principle. If you're interested in that, check out my video about weight, and I talk about that a bit more. Speaking of weight, we also reworked all the weights of items to reflect the dual-wielding system, which is actually as uninteresting as it sounds, so we're gonna skip over that one. Let's talk about Diablo instead. I gave Diablo 3 some flack in my last video, so let's give it some more credit in this one. 50 of the new items in this patch were inspired by Diablo 3's legendary item system. These items typically took a player's skill and completely altered them. For instance, the Wizard's Wand of Woe would trigger 3 additional explosions after casting Explosive Blast, or the Witch Doctor's Dagger of Darts allowed you and your pet's darts to pierce through enemies. We use this concept to make similar items. For instance, the Marine's Guerrilla Tactics ability allowed you to move 1 space after attacking. If they were to acquire the Counterintelligence Communicator item, it changes the ability to move the target you're attacking rather than yourself. Or another example, the Assassin's Ambush ability allows you to deal double damage when behind a target. The Assassin's Cowl item allows ambush to be used from any direction instead. We affectionately called these items Diablified items, mostly to ourselves, but, you know, yeah. This follows pretty well with our design philosophy that utility should be favored over numbers. An item having a new or different effect is much more interesting than just gaining some damage. So I'm likely to use this concept going forward as well. Want to know something I'm not going to be going forward with? A rarity of items we called shitendaries. Yes, a combination of the words shit and legendary. These were legendary-like items that were really good in one way and pretty awful in another. Basically, these were items with large trade-offs. They were more of jokes than anything else, but we did make them a category, I guess. Eventually, they were removed because it was ridiculous, didn't really fit the theme of the game, and were not for the lactose intolerant. What did fit the theme of the game, however, is the new cards I created. I want to give them a bit of a better aesthetic and help add elements to go along with the rest of the changes. I give them a border and header for the card, allowing them to be a little more readable and feel a little bit cleaner. I also added the text color for rarities and subcategories directly below it. I also moved some of the indicators to tidy it up a little bit. I think they look better, but again, something I'm completely self-taught in, so I don't know, who knows. Anyway, that's today's video. I think I'm going to be doing a few more introspective videos, maybe 3 or 4, before finally getting into the new version of the game. I've got a lot of ideas, and I'm really excited to share them with you all. If you'd like to play the current version of Soul, or learn more about it, you can check out our website, soulrpg.com, which is in dire need of updating, and I'm aware of that, but yeah, maybe soon. In the meantime, you can check out the Discord server I just made, which seems to be where a lot of devlog communities are interacting these days, so figured that would be a good shot. We'll give it a try, see how it goes. Link will be in the description. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.